I got a vasectomy after a pregnancy scare, then she tried to baby trap me anyway. I've always been a hookup guy. No long-term relationships, no drama, no strings. Just fun. That was my thing. I was in my late 20s, financially stable, decent job, nice apartment, and dating apps made casual sex ridiculously easy. It felt like I was living the dream. But all it took was one night to shatter that illusion. It was a random Friday. A woman I'd met on Tinder, let's call her Elise, came over. We were drinking, fooling around, the usual. Somewhere in the middle of everything, the condom broke. I didn't notice right away. She did. She kinda froze and just said, that wasn't supposed to happen. I sobered up in seconds. My heart started pounding. I'm not proud of how I reacted. I basically jumped out of bed and started pacing like a lunatic. She said she thought she was on birth control, but hadn't taken it consistently. And also, she'd never consider an abortion. Ever. Those were her exact words. My chest went cold. I imagined my entire life crashing down, years of child support, being tied to someone I barely knew, losing financial freedom, no more spontaneous weekends. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff. And then she said she'd take a test in a few weeks. So I waited, spiraling into anxiety. When she finally sent me a picture of the negative test, I nearly cried. I'm not exaggerating. I was on the verge of tears, shaking with relief. That moment changed everything. After that, I stopped. No more Tinder, no more casual hookups. I needed time to think. Because that close call showed me something I hadn't admitted to myself. I never want kids. Not now, not maybe later. Just. Never. I started researching, thinking about what to do long term. A few weeks later, I booked a consultation and got a vasectomy. It was surprisingly quick, not too painful, and honestly one of the best decisions I've ever made. I also decided to freeze a few samples at a sperm bank, just in case. You never know where life takes you, but I knew where I stood now. The doctor told me I'd need a few follow-up tests to confirm it worked. Sperm can linger for a while. So I stayed celibate until all the tests were done. When that final result came in and confirmed zero fertility, it felt like someone had given me a superpower. No more fear. No more risk. But before I tell you what happened next, if you're into raw stories like this one, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps more than you know, and there's plenty more coming. Now, back to it. I could live on my terms now. Then I met, let's call her Lena. She was 34, insanely fit, great sense of humor, sharp mind, and just had this energy. She made me feel things I hadn't felt in a while. Our first hookup was electric. She didn't look young per se, and weirdly, that turned me on even more. It took me a few days to realize I had a thing for older women. Like my brain was wired to react to their curves, their skin, their body language screaming fertility, even if I wanted no part in that. Eventually, I went back on Tinder. But something had changed. I wasn't swiping on 22-year-olds anymore. I found myself drawn to women in their 30s. More mature. More confident. There was something magnetic about them. I changed my Tinder settings, 30 to 40. I was owning this. A few weeks later, I met, let's call her Jess, 35, wild, funny, slightly chaotic in that hot girl way. We clicked immediately. It turned into a situationship. We weren't dating, but we weren't strangers either. She told me she was on birth control. I didn't tell her about the vasectomy. There was no need. We decided to ditch condoms. We both enjoyed it more that way. Things were great. Then I noticed something odd. Jess kept her pills in a little decorative box on her bathroom counter. One day, while she was getting ready, I noticed the pack hadn't moved. The pills weren't being taken, or at least not on schedule. I shrugged it off at first. I was infertile, so who cared? But the more time passed, the more obvious it became. Jess wasn't taking them. At all. I brought it up once, casually. She just laughed and said, "Of course I'm on the pill. I'm not crazy, I don't want a baby." But my instincts said otherwise. Soon after, she started acting differently in bed. We were trying all sorts of new positions, and I had a weird realization one night. She was guiding us into positions scientifically known for better sperm retention. I know that sounds paranoid, but something felt off. She got obsessed with cream pies. Wanted them constantly. Wanted me over multiple times a week. She was like an animal in heat. And I'm not gonna lie. I loved it. The attention, the lust, the freedom from consequences. At least that's what I thought. Then she dropped the bomb. I'm pregnant. My stomach dropped. She looked so excited. I, on the other hand, Felt the blood drain from my face. I asked if she was sure. She was. I asked if she'd been with anyone else. She snapped, said she'd only been with me for the past 6 months. The way she said it sounded honest. But something didn't add up. I played it cool, said we'd figure it out together. Inside, I was screaming. First thing I did? I called my doctor. Took another sperm test. Results came in, still infertile. 0 viable sperm. The doc told me, with near 100% certainty, that it couldn't be mine. So I confronted her. Told her gently that I didn't want kids. Asked if she'd consider termination. She blew up, called me heartless, a coward, and a hole. I didn't react. I just listened. A week later, she texted me like nothing happened. We met up, and she acted normal again. That's when it clicked. Jess had been on a girls' trip a month earlier. A big music festival. She'd mentioned it once but brushed over the details. I put 2 and 2 together. I didn't say anything, just pulled back emotionally. We still hooked up a bit, but something between us had changed. She got more distant. More irritable. Eventually, I told her I wasn't interested in seeing her anymore. That's when all hell broke loose. She spammed my phone. Called me every name in the book. Then she went public, posted on social media about how I abandoned my child, told our mutual friends I was a monster who ghosted her after getting her pregnant. I lost friends over it. People I'd known for years took her side. I was called a deadbeat. A sociopath. My family even got dragged into it. Then she took it to court. Jess filed for child support. Swore under oath that I was the father. I showed the court my vasectomy records, my sperm test results, everything. The judge ordered a DNA test. 2 weeks later, the results came in, not the father. I wish I could describe the look on her face. Utter disbelief. Rage. Panic. Like her whole plan had just collapsed. She screamed in court, said the tests were rigged. But it was over. Turns out, she'd hooked up with a guy while blackout drunk at that festival. She probably didn't even remember it. Jess a single mom now. Still posts cryptic stuff online. Some of the people who shamed me apologized. Others doubled down, said I should have supported her anyway. That I was lucky I didn't have to pay. Maybe. But luck had nothing to do with it. I made a decision. I protected myself. And she tried to override my choice without my consent. Do I feel bad for her? A little. Being a single parent is hard. But she tried to trap me. Lied to me. Slept with someone else and blamed me. Now? I'm doing great. Still careful, still selective. Back to adventures, but smarter this time. And if there's one thing I learned from this, get the vasectomy. And trust your gut. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more stories like this one. I post regularly, you won't want to miss what's next.